Dina Alexander is an amazing mom of 3 children and loves spending time with them and her brilliant husband. Together they live in Boerne, Texas. She's the founder and president of Educate and Empower Kids, an organization determined to strengthen families by forging powerful connection. She's the creator of the 30 Days of Sex Talks and 30 Days to a Stronger Child programs. She received her master's degree in recreation therapy from the University of Utah and her bachelor's degree from Brigham Young University. Let's welcome Dina Alexander.
Thank you. All right, I might break into an English accent, I apologize. It's what I do when I'm nervous. All right, so you heard it, I'm Dina. We're gonna talk pornography. All right, so these are sort of my goals for today's presentation. How are we gonna start these tough conversations, and how are we gonna create that deep connection with our kids? Because our kids are not gonna talk to us about these tough topics if we have not already created that foundation of trust, that created those strong connections where they know that they can ask us anything. If there's one thing I want for my kids, and I have a whole slide devoted to it, is that I want my kids to be able to ask me anything. And I want that for you guys too. We're going to talk about teaching positive coping skills briefly and simplifying our lives. Now it sounds kind of funny that that's my final thing on that because I'm about to give you a ton of information. Okay, and so to me it's kind of silly that I have that on there. But that is what I have been finding, my research has been finding is that simplifying our lives seems to be one of the key factors in a successful family. So what I also want to be able to do here in the next 55 minutes, by the way, we'll do questions at the end if you have any questions. If not, you can tweet them to me or you can even message us on Instagram. If we don't answer it today, we'll answer it in the next few days. So you can ask anything you want. But creating powerful connections. So I want to give you a little picture of what our kids are living in. You guys know it, but I want to give you just a little bit more. We're going to talk about the porn industry and how sophisticated they are. I want to be able to give you a little picture of what it means when your 11-year-old, 12-year-old son or daughter types in porn into Google. What is that going to look like for him or her? Okay? So we have something totally different in our image-based, hypersexualized culture. Most of us that are heading toward 40 and above grew up in what is probably a print-based culture. Meaning because we were focused mostly on the written word, we had an inoculation to the seduction of the printed word. Meaning we learned to go, that's not true. Oh, that is true. And learning to decipher that. Now that we are in an image-based culture, we don't really have that anymore. Our brains are trying so hard to make every image true and correct, we get very confused. Even though we are looking at a photoshopped woman on the cover of Cosmo or Vogue, our brains are trying to make it true. And we're going, I don't look like that. I should look like that. I wish I had this. We start shoulding and changing all of these things because the culture is different for us now. And most of us as parents are image illiterate. And I'm going to talk about this later on when I talk about media literacy and teaching our kids how to read an image and how to know and understand what is being sold to us in media and in pornography, okay? Also hugely is that we have plenty of opportunities to disconnect from real life and plenty of opportunities to connect in shallow relationships online. We're doing this ourselves, it's not just our kids, right? We love to say, oh, our kids should be texting less. Our kids should be doing this less, but this is definitely our problem as well. Very posh today. All right. Okay, so I have a little video here. Last year we did a similar video. This year we added a question to this little 2-minute video. So we had kids, we had one teenager ask other teenagers about their exposure to pornography. One of the questions we added was, what is the craziest thing you've seen in pornography? And we took out some of the bad answers so that they would not be triggering or upsetting to you. I hope none of what the words they say are upsetting. If they are, let us know. Put that in that survey without being too mean. And let us know if we went too far, we'll see, okay? But also I'm just trying to give you a picture again of what kids are saying.
In 7th or 8th grade.
Did you guys hear that?
8th grade, 2 years ago.
8th grade.
7th grade, 13.
7th grade? Around 8th grade.
And I was about 14.
It's 13.
13.
Probably when I was 10.
Last week.
About a week ago.
Today. Then a couple weeks or so. A couple months ago in school. A week ago. Yesterday. Earlier today. A classmate.
My friend. Twitter.
Social media.
I accidentally clicked on an ad. When an advertisement popped up on my computer, one of my college friends.
My best friend. A buddy of mine from school.
This kid in my middle school, I had a friend over and I searched it on my smartphone.
Me.
Nobody. Internet.
Looking up stuff on WebMD and then it kind of leading to it.
I just heard about it, so I looked it up.
There's a lot of really crappy stuff out on the internet.
I pretty much seen it all.
Someone sucking something like weird, I don't know, orgies or something. Go on, girl.
2 girls, 1 cup.
2 girls, 1 cup.
2 guys and 1 girl.
German dungeon porn. That was very interesting.
It was Star Wars related. It was like aliens and they were, oh, it was so weird.
I don't really go for very kinky stuff. No.
No, not really.
No.
No.
No, never. They kind of just expect us not to know what it is.
No. They kind of like warned us against it, but not much.
Not my mom, ever. But I've had to talk to my dad before and he's like talking about how it's like every man's struggle.
Yes, I've been dealing with it and I've actually overcome it.
When it comes...
They don't want us pushing our books. I'm going to push through that part of the slide. All right, the porn industry. What is it selling to your kids? So sometimes we tend to think of the pornography industry as this mom and pop thing, this tiny little industry out in somewhere in the valley in LA. It is so much more sophisticated than we could possibly imagine. Last month, I did a ton of research for an article I was writing about porn trends for 2016. And it was a little discouraging for somebody who was trying to fight against it to see how sophisticated they are. The articles, the resources they have for pornographers and porn actresses to help them build their following, to help them create this experience for their clients, for our kids, okay? So this is what they're selling, a commodified, formulaic version of sex. So think of a McDonald's cheeseburger. Think of everything you know about food, every delicious meal you've ever eaten, and then think of the McDonald's cheeseburger. That is the type of sex that they are selling our kids. Something that is not imaginative, something that is not beautiful, something that is not creative, but something that they can turn out over and over again and sell to our kids. They are also creating a counterfeit adversarial version of sex. Sex is never about giving, it's never about intimacy, as in the third bullet. There's never hand-holding, hugging, kissing, touching, caressing. It is all about the act. It is all about my pleasure, not your pleasure. It is about what I can take from you and what you have to give to me. That is the focus of sex. So what does that do to the teenage or child's brain who is still developing? What does that mean for them when they watch an hour, 2 hours, 10 hours of pornography? What is going on in their brain? Not just the addiction, which we'll talk about in a second, but what does that mean about their values, about how they view sex, about how they view intimacy, about how they view the opposite gender? It warps it, right? Misogynistic, hateful view of women. Most pornography, everything I have seen, has been about a woman in a position of powerlessness, okay? A man rarely has his hands on the woman unless he's holding her down. What does that mean? All right, the first chat. Okay, now I know you already had some of the first chat in the last class, but this is something I want to call attention to, is an addiction focus versus a humanity focus. Because many churches focus on the addiction, and I agree that's a very important topic, but it doesn't terrify me nearly as much as the idea of millions and millions of teenage boys growing up on a diet of porn. Where again, a woman is always in a position of powerless, where a woman is always less than, where a woman is spit on, kicked, called every horrible name in the book, and that this is what sex is being, this is how sex ed is being portrayed to our children, okay? So this is where I want my kids to focus, where we focus on in my home. At your home, it might be addiction focused. Either one is fine, but I'm saying kind of think about both of those perspectives when you are going for those talks, okay? That first chat, you might talk about how curiosity is normal. coming up with your definition of pornography. It's getting harder and harder, isn't it? Because so much of what's on television is what was soft-core porn for us as kids. Is it a half-dressed man or woman? Is it a completely naked woman or man? Is it the actual act? Define that for your children so that they know what it is. When they see it, they can immediately talk to you about it, okay? And having a plan. Helping your kids have a plan for what they need to do when they first see it. Do they need to close the tablet and come telling you right away? Is there another trusted adult that you trust for them to talk to? Do they spend a lot of time at a babysitter? And then what will be the plan in that situation? What's the plan for school? Okay, because I guarantee your kids are going to see it at school. My daughter is a freshman. She says the boys stand around at lunch, all around one phone, and many times it is pornography that they're watching. Okay, what is the plan for your family? Okay, all right. The next chats. That porn is addictive. Helping your child understand that it's just as dangerous, just as addictive as cocaine, as alcohol. Same neural pathways, same pleasure center being lit up, same neural pathways, just like a trail in a mountain. Okay? The more you walk it, the deeper those grooves get. That happens in our brains. It's called neuroplasticity, and that is how those inroads get made, and how we create those new pathways and then eventually build up a tolerance, so that it's not just enough to see maybe one act, but why you need another more aggressive act and maybe a more violent act to compensate for that tolerance, right? The next chat's how it conditions our brain. This is a quote I love. Images construct the way we think in the world. They jump off of the pages and into our lives, our identity and our sexuality. The subtitle of Gail Dine's book is How Pornography Has Hijacked Our Sexuality. That is an excellent, excellent analogy, how it comes in before you even know what you want, before our kids even decide what is sexy, what is attractive, what is beautiful. Pornography is there ready to tell them exactly what it thinks it should be. So that's why, again, preparing and getting our kids ready. Media literacy. All right, helping our kids deconstruct an issue or an image. So this might be two separate talks. How pornography can condition our brain, and media literacy. Helping our kids understand advertising. Just getting a magazine, getting anything out and looking. Who is their audience? What are they selling? Why are they selling that? Why do we buy these products? What kind of toys are they selling to us? Why do they do, and kind of helping our kids understand that just because the child doesn't look happy with the Barbie doesn't mean that child is actually happy. That's them selling a product to us. Right? How Photoshop works, how all these different pieces, and helping them deconstruct that image so they understand that it's counterfeit. So that when they come across the pornography, they understand, oh, that's fake. That's not right. That's not what sex should look like. That's not intimacy. Okay? Next talks. So this is one that, I think for younger kids, they will definitely have a harder time conceptualizing this. Understanding the hateful nature of pornography. You will know when your child is ready for this discussion, but it is a very critical conversation, how pornography is hateful, okay? Pornography has always presented women as objectified bodies for male pleasure, but each year pornography does that with more and more overt cruelty toward women. The gonzo genre of pornography, where the industry pushes the culture's limits with the most intense sexual degradation, encourages men to see women as vehicles for their sexual pleasure, even depicting women as eager to participate in their own degradation. That's from a feminist named Robert Jensen. Also has a great book about why this is, or how this is, why there is so much of this. People tend to think that we don't realize how dehumanizing pornography is. There's a reason why a woman is never called a woman in pornography. She's never a woman. What is she? She's a whore, she's a slut. She's every other word in the book, right? Why is that? It's so we don't have to see her as a human, right? We don't have to see her as our sister or our mother, our wife, our girlfriend. We can see her as an animal. We can see her as less than, somebody who wants that. Somebody who wants to be raped. Somebody who's asking for it, right? That helps us to disconnect, okay? Teaching our kids that that is not right, that that is not normal, okay? It's the same reason why the Germans, why Nazis never called Jewish people, right? They were always something else. Same exact principle being used in pornography, okay? destroying our empathy, right? I already mentioned before, when the act is only about my pleasure and not about you, that's not empathy. That's not, when you continually watch a woman in a position of powerlessness, or again, as Robert Jensen says, a lot of these things that you'll see is there's always a coercion, right? Even if she, or, you know, because it's not all, I'm not going to say, oh, it's all rape. It's not. There will be times when the woman is coerced into it, that no always means yes, okay? This is where we are losing our empathy, where our kids will lose their empathy. If they're watching something where, wait, well, she was saying no, but then now she's saying yes. Or she's, you know, she didn't like it before, but now she is acting like she's enjoying herself. Very confusing for our kids to understand that. They don't understand what's going on there, okay? So that's why we need to help them understand them. Expectations and accountability, okay? So, another conversation, or maybe it's the first conversation. What are your expectations and rules? Is there going to be a consequence if your child looks at pornography? What is that consequence? Discussing that with your kids. This is why it's important to our family, and these are the consequences, these are the expectations in our home for viewing and not viewing pornography, okay? All right, this is key. If we're going to talk about how horrible pornography is, we better talk about how awesome and amazing healthy sexuality is. So this slide is for younger kids, focusing on intimacy always. So first you're going to start out, if you haven't already, starting out with that protective information. My body belongs to me. Good touch, bad touch. How to say no. So you might look at this and be like, well, why is that necessary? How does that relate to pornography? Well, one, predators use pornography to groom kids. Okay, it's a straight up fact. They want the child to do something, they're going to show them what they want. Okay, much easier than explaining, right? Helping them understand that their body is special, amazing, worth protecting. Okay, having those discussions. And again, on our website, we have lessons. We have downloadable lessons for a lot of these. Okay, helping them understand just general bodily knowledge, their anatomy, their functions, where babies come from, explaining these things so they understand the whole picture, okay? Relationship basics, helping them understand that relationships are awesome, okay? Because if there's one thing, that's another thing pornography teaches. You don't need a relationship for sex. You don't need to care about the person. You just can go in, have sex, be done. So again, teaching the opposite of that relationships are good. This is how you create a healthy relationship, okay? Older kids, okay? That sex is healthy and amazing. This is a good thing. That yes, you want to have sex. That's a wonderful thing. You should want to have sex. That having sex with you is a privilege, not a right from anybody else. Okay? Helping them understand the positive and negative aspects. Balancing that, really thinking about that. This is something we need to plan because we forget. It gets so easy to go right into the negative. You don't want an unwanted pregnancy. Oh, there's sexually transmitted diseases. Keeping it balanced so that they understand the awesome nature of healthy sexuality. Okay? Helping them understand puberty and body image, and of course, relationship counsel. Helping them understand their self-worth, boundaries. Okay? All right, more talks. All right. This is becoming crazy. Okay? Teens and sexting. Okay, everywhere we go, when we talk about pornography, parents always want us to talk about sexting because it is becoming so rampant. So we have to ask ourselves, why are they doing this? Is it just merely that they're creating their own pornography? No, what is the need for self-objectification? Because this goes beyond wanting a boy to think I'm pretty. You know, it goes beyond, it changes from, say, being sexy to acting sexual, okay? This is where that line crosses for a lot of kids, okay? The research is showing that if a girl in a group starts sexting, the other girls follow very quickly. This is why this is a very, very important conversation to have. The double standards exist there, though. It's happening. We don't really talk about a boy asking for a girl for her picture. But if the girl gives it, the questions are always, oh, why would she do such a thing? What was she thinking? So we need to address both sides of that for boys and girls. Okay? A lot of girls think that because if their face isn't in it, then there won't be any consequences. Teaching our kids there are serious consequences to sexting. Okay? Not just to their self-worth, not just to their reputation, but internally, emotionally. physically, okay? Redefining sexual liberation, helping our girls and our boys realizing there's nothing sexually liberating about sharing pictures of yourself naked. How does that liberate me? When it doesn't result in anything helpful or pleasurable or wonderful for me, okay? That's becoming a new thing. Oh, I'm so empowered. That's a big theme in feminist pornography. Oh, I'm empowered. I'm self-objectifying, so it's better than a man objectifying me, right? No, it doesn't work like that, okay? Helping our girls understand and our boys understand what is true liberation. What does it mean to be truly empowered? Helping our kids understand this, okay? Social media, so helping our kids, again, we mentioned it earlier, the Snapchat, the Twitter, all of these are venues. I mean, you can get exposed to pornography on any of these social media outlets, okay? On Instagram, they're all trying, well, Facebook and Instagram, they definitely pay lip service. But most of the kids I know that have been exposed to pornography were exposed on Facebook and Instagram, okay? Twitter, they pay a little lip service, but it's everywhere. Snapchat and Tumblr, they just say you're on your own. You are on your own on those social media outlets. Now again, I'm not saying don't use them. I'm saying keep up with it. Not just once in a while, not just once a year, every month, or more often. Having a conversation, asking your kids, who's this that's following you? Who are you following? Why are you following them? This last week on my daughter's phone, I noticed that she was following LDS babes, Mormon hotties, right? These were not naked people, okay? Calm yourself, okay? They were all fully clothed, except for one boy with his shirt off doing the, right? But I was like, oh, but I saw that and I said, here we go. Here we go. These kids have no idea who they sent their picture to. They don't know if that's a kid. They don't know if that's an adult. And what happens when whoever has that account starts going for bikini shots or more? It won't just stop here with, because there were those shots, you know. And I saw that and because I could tell most of those pages were pretty new. These are not years old Instagram accounts. But I was like, oh, okay, interesting. So keeping an eye on that, looking at what's going on with your kids' social media, okay? All right, everyone's favorite topic, masturbation, okay? Parents love this. Look how happy you are. I've never seen so many smiles. You guys are all like this, okay? Yeah, I know you don't want to talk about this, but you need to talk about this. Because most people do not just watch pornography, right? They masturbate when they're watching pornography. They become very related, okay? Whatever your values, whatever your thoughts on that, you need to let your kids know about that, okay? Helping them understand what it is, okay? Because a lot of the research I had been doing earlier when I first started, when I was reading about, like, everyone saying how healthy it is and it's just so amazing and wonderful, and I'm looking, I'm like, for second graders? I was confused, and then as I did more research, I realized, oh, they had a different definition than I did. In my mind, the definition for masturbation was masturbating to orgasm, but most of the experts were defining it as just touching yourself. And I was like, oh, okay, like, yes, every child does that. They're exploring their bodies, that's okay. So again, though, having that conversation with your values, what you feel comfortable, but you need to address it, okay? Shame, okay? So many of our discussions, so many of us had this as part of the conversation. If you do this, this is gonna happen to you. Taking that out of the conversations. And that's where it goes back to helping our kids understand that curiosity is normal, okay? 2 of my kids have sought sexual imagery, okay? One of the conversations, there was yelling from me. One of the conversations, there was a hug, right? Guess which conversation went better, right? Guess which one? This is, in my years of, this is not, I didn't do this last year where I yelled. Okay, but I'm saying that, again, helping them understand that, yes, it's normal, but we have standards, we have rules, these are our feelings about it, this is the direction we need to go. Helping your kids understand that, again, layering it, so it's not just one conversation, continual. All right, filling our accounts. So we wrote a book last year called 30 Days to a Stronger Child. This was for us as I was watching terrorist attacks, and shootings, and watching a lot of my people that I know in my community being like this about it. Not really, just like, that's just too bad, huh? And I was like, no, there's something very wrong here. There's something very wrong that's going on within our culture. Not just, and pornography is definitely a piece of that, but what's going on with the rest of it, right? Where we're so involved in our social media, we're so disconnected, we're so involved in our social media accounts that we're not connecting on a human daily basis with our families and with our kids. Helping our kids create connection with us. So we came up with the notion of that we all have accounts, social account, an emotional account, an intellectual account, a spiritual account, our physical accounts, helping them to stay full. Because what happens if our accounts aren't full? That's when we start going off those addictive behaviors. When I'm lonely and sad and bored, this is me personally, I tend to go for food. I try to fill my emotional account using food, and it just doesn't work. It's not working, right? Helping our kids understanding what positive coping mechanisms are and how to fill their accounts. And not just teaching them, but us modeling that as well, okay? So you don't have to buy the book to do that, right? There's lessons everywhere about when you ask yourself, what does it mean to have a truly strong child? How am I going to prepare them? Because our kids have to be stronger than us. We didn't deal with many terrorist attacks and school shootings when we were kids. We didn't deal with the onslaught of pornography. We were not tempted with a smartphone. So we need to strengthen our children daily, over and over again, okay? Helping them use technology for good, and that is where we have limits and screen time, and where we can help them to create those limits, but using it for good, okay? There's so many good things we can share. So many good things we can share on social media. There's so many good things, so many people we can help them to find those outlets. All right, strengthening your child, setting limits and routines. So like I said before, seeking family-focused activities. So it's no longer enough, like I said, to just, when I was a kid, there was something that came from playing on a sports team. I learned something. I was part of a team. I learned character, I learned discipline. This is my personal opinion, not as much of that is happening in these activities. We shunt our kids from one activity to the next activity. Are they truly building character? Are they truly learning what it means to be a member of the community? Are they connecting with me? Is this strengthening our family? We need to evaluate those activities, evaluate our daily schedules, and see where we can cut back. Where can we cut back so we have more time together? Where we can connect daily, eyes to eyes, face to face, okay? Focusing on the most important lesson. So I've given you a lot of information here. I'm hoping you have 10 talks worth of information here, okay? That you have enough talks that you're like, I can do some talks here for the next several months, okay? Focus for you on what is the most important for your family, okay? Showing affection. I know you all do this. Do it more, okay? There's not enough. We're not getting enough, we're not giving enough, we're not getting enough of this. Do it more with your kids, okay? And be nice to yourself. Give yourself a break, okay? This is something else, the inadequacy that I'm seeing in so many moms and dads. We're just not saying nice things to ourselves. My favorite lesson in our 30 Days to a Stronger Child is called positive self-talk. It's a skill that most of us don't have. Speaking kindly to ourselves and teaching that. I can't think of anything that would strengthen my child more than if they could say nice things to themselves when others are not saying nice things. Or that other little voice that says horrible things to us, being able to talk back to it, okay? All right. I recently heard a great talk about the power of repetition, okay? We need repetition. There's a reason why we have similar lessons over and over again. Okay, we need the repetition. Okay, there's nothing wrong with repeating the pornography lessons. There are talks that I have had with my kids, and I obviously, with being in this business, I talk about it all the time. There are things that they forget. There are things that they don't understand, or that I thought I communicated that I didn't. That's why it's okay to repeat it with an extra layer of information. Maybe you start with addiction, and then you're going to add on the layer of the hateful nature of pornography. Or you're going to start with the basics of healthy sexuality, of the first part being a protective lesson, and then you're going to add on the layer of this is why it's amazing. This is what it means to connect with another human being in this intimate level, okay? Managing technology, we already covered that. This is a recap in case you're wondering why am I repeating all this? I want you to have repetition, but this is the recap here. Simplifying your life, and I know that's hilarious because this out of everything I have taught you, this is my weakest point. Simplifying my life. This is something that I work constantly at, and I don't do a good job at it. Okay, but it's the point of that I'm going to work on it. I'm not going to stop working on this. Okay, all right. We have time for questions. I put on my Texas accent. I live in Texas now, and the most disappointing thing about Texas is that nobody has an accent. I thought every third person was going to talk like this, and they don't. It's like every 50th person. It's been a little disappointing, but anyways, website. If you subscribe to our website, you're gonna find out more information, the latest information. When our Kindle is gonna go on sale, other stuff. If you want a copy of this presentation, you can email me. If you have a question, email us at info. Okay? You can all these social media outlets have new information, different information, little bits of inspiration. All right, questions. Yes, go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's working. One of my concerns teaching my kids is how to handle the conversation part about, we talk about this, you and me, but don't go talking to your friends. I know that friends talk anyway, but I don't want my friends sharing information other parents don't want their kids to know.
Thank you very much for bringing that up, because that is definitely something that I repeat constantly to my kids. I say, your friends don't know about this, because who talks about oral sex at the dinner table or group sex like we do? Yet I forgot to tell you the oral sex story. You know how last year Monica Lewinsky gave a TED Talk about being the first person to be cyberbullied, and I was talking with my friend and I said the word oral sex, not realizing at the time my 8-year-old was right behind me, and he says, "What's oral sex?" You should have seen my boys' faces for that conversation. I was not going to lie to them, and I was not going to put it off. So I said, well, let me tell you, sit down. Discussed it, and they were just like, right? And I was like, well, what questions do you have for me? And then at the end of it, definitely, we do not talk about this at school. This is not playground conversation. 99% of your friends don't know about this yet. You're not going to talk about it. Okay? But with my older kids, I am like, absolutely. You see somebody looking at pornography, tell them to stop. We need them to stand up and do this. We need them to speak up about it and help educate their parents. I think of, my parents started recycling because we told them about it, because we were like, why aren't we recycling? Not to, anyways. But so it's okay for our kids to educate their friends on certain things, but again, knowing that level and knowing that age group. So for my 15-year-old daughter, yes, I tell her, yes, talk about this with your friends. Let them know this is dangerous. Let them know they don't have to be sexting, that there's nothing liberating, sexy, or special about giving your naked picture to a boy in the ward. Okay?
I assume probably on this website you have things for age appropriate.
Yeah, so on the resources page there is a pornography lesson, 3 to 7, 8 to 11, 12 plus. Just like the books, the 30 Days of Sex Talks are in those 3 age groups. The good touch, bad touch, you're gonna see that's a little kid subject. You're not going to have good touch, bad touch with a 15-year-old, okay? You're going to do it in a different way. But we are going to, so there are age appropriate, and we're always adding to that, okay? So that's something to check back on.
Perfect, because I won't ask my question, I'll just go there. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question about teenagers and their phones.
Yes.
I know you said that you saw on your daughter's phone, so do you look at their phones, and do they know that you look at their phones? Do you ask them, "Can we see your phone?" You don't do it behind their whatever. Do they feel
I'm a monitor, not a spire. Yeah, no, that's part of the agreement of them. If you go online, there's a lot of great cell phone contracts. And that's one of the elements you can put in your cell phone contract. Welcome to our family. I'm gonna check up on you, okay? That I'm paying for this phone, guess what? I'm gonna look, right? And so they know that it's totally random. They check their phones in every night. They're in our bedroom at nighttime, they check it in. My younger son has a dumb phone, it's just a flip phone. Okay, so you can just basically talk and text. There's no internet access. I believe in putting that off as long as possible. If your kid's high school is like my child's high school, they need it for their classes now. I was like not happy about that. My daughter couldn't even get the syllabus without a QR code scanner. Okay, there was no paper syllabus passed out in any of the classes. They had to find it. It was all online. Okay, they need that phone. She's written papers on her phone. Okay, because she was stuck at school and didn't have a laptop. Okay, so again, and they call themselves, they're a device-friendly school. And I said, oh, you've given up. Great, thanks. Mom to principal, appreciate that, right? So that's what you expect, but I put off as long as possible. But that again, that's your choice and your decision. That's what I did for me, but you don't have to do that. If you feel like your child is mature enough, they need it, whatever, but yeah, it is constant, okay? And we share the cloud. Share the cloud with your child. Okay, don't give them their own cloud technology. They can hide anything on that. Okay, on our website is a couple articles on apps, on dangerous apps, including the ones that you can hide everything. You swipe it once and it hides everything that's going on. Okay, or how you can hide apps behind other apps. Right? Knowing that technology, knowing those parental controls. Both Apple and Microsoft have tutorials on their websites. You just Google tutorial for Android, tutorial for iPhone, for parental controls. They're pretty simple. There's things in there. And guess what? On a smartphone, they don't have to have internet. You can take the Safari, you can take the internet app off the phone. Okay? There's a lot of options. Do the research. Yes?
Could you give some examples of like appropriate consequences that aren't shaming, you know, if there was pornography in the house or caught them looking, just the best way to handle that, maybe what you've done.
I think it depends on the history of the child and every child. That's why, you know, like I have 3 different kids, 3 different discussions on a lot of these and 3 different consequences, okay? Because for me, it's now that I've been in this and seen so many kids, I'm not as harsh as the viewing of pornography as I am with the lying about it, right? That's where I get upset, okay? Because we've had these discussions, we know we can talk about it. We have questions, I will explain this to you, you know, so we have those, again, but just checking up, okay? So I honestly, I don't know what an appropriate thing is for your family. Is it grounding? Like, there's things that like I don't take the phone away. Like, that's not the ultimate punishment in our home. That's like a lot for a lot of families. Because my daughter uses it for her schoolwork. So it's like, I'm real big on chores, okay? I'm real big on push-ups. My kids do more push-ups than you could possibly imagine. They're like this, right? It's like, so it's just simple. And it's not just the punishment, it's that I'm not saying the shaming things. How could you look at this? Why would you do this? Think of those things that are, those statements that are so not helpful. Those are the things to avoid. It's not so much like, oh, I'm gonna give you 50 push-ups or 10 push-ups or extra chores, because I can say it like this, like, I need you to understand that this is a consequence. We don't do this in our home, so you're gonna have this consequence. But I'm saying it like this and not, well, you're doing this. Okay, it's about the tone. It's not the consequence. Okay, so it's to me that's okay. Yes. Next question.
Dina.
How do you balance?
Yeah, we're finished. So you can leave at any time, but you can answer because it's lunchtime right now. So you may leave or you may ask more questions. So go ahead and ask your question because I don't have anywhere to go.
Okay.
So.
My question is, how do you balance filtering and monitoring them with helping them learn to be self-filtering and self-reliant and you trusting them?
Excellent question. Excellent questions. There's 2 different schools of thought on this, okay? So we have the filters on ours. You'll notice I didn't spend a lot of time talking about filtering because to me that's like having a cancerous lesion on your arm, the doctor removing it and putting a Band-Aid on it and then wanting to discuss over and over the brand of Band-Aid. Because that's all filtering is, it's just a Band-Aid, right? It doesn't take the curiosity, it doesn't take the shame, it doesn't take the addiction away, but it is a helper, right? It's very helpful. So we have just a free, cheap filter. All I use is Canine Web Protection, the free one. It's not the perfect one, it's not the best one. So far I have not had any problems with it, but I only got it because it was free, okay? But there are a million out there that you can choose. So you can have those, but you can also, they have what's coming out now more recently is accountability software, okay? So that's where nothing is filtered, but it will send you a report if they go looking for something, okay? So as they get ready to leave the house, that's what needs to be put in place, okay? But there's also another school of thought, when I've talked with different people, that they're like, no, we all need filters forever. Teach our kids to always have a filter on their computer, okay? So you would have to choose what is best for you, those two schools of thought, okay? So, yes, next question.
Just wondering if you had any advice, because we try to be really, really open. I'm not embarrassed to talk about things with my kids, but I've got one child who the whole conversation is eye-rolling. She never wants to ask questions. We do the monitoring and everything, and I don't think she's doing anything wrong, but she is so embarrassed to ask questions.
You need to keep exploring that, okay? Starting again with those really basic things, okay? Like, so how old is she?
16.
16? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. At first I was like, oh, it's 8 or 9, we'll do this conversation.
No,
okay, so
she's
16.
older. This is why I'm concerned about it, because she doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, what does she talk about?
She talks with us about everything else in her life. She actually is very talkative, but she just gets so embarrassed to talk about anything puberty, body related, body image related, sex related. She just doesn't want to talk about
I think it's to be gentle, but don't stop. Okay, that's always my advice, because just because my child is uncomfortable, I don't stop. Like, oh, you don't like algebra makes you uncomfortable? Oh, well, we won't talk about algebra then. You know, you can just skip that class in high school, right? No, because it's still necessary, right?
Right.
I need to, because at the end of the day, my job as mom is to protect my kids. So I'm gonna just keep it really gentle, but I'm gonna keep talking about it.
Okay.
You know, maybe it's gonna be just a simple conversation about your period, or about puberty, or about, boys and girls, and about dating, and starting with just some of those outer conversations, and seeing how, and then just kind of helping her get more comfortable of that. But I say don't stop.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Next question.
I'm wondering if you ever want to use the phrase, we'll talk about this when you're older.
Never.
So do you just always want to simplify it or make it more age appropriate, but you never want to postpone?
Well, I always follow up with the question.
Okay.
So if it had been my 5-year-old saying, well, what's oral sex? I would have said, well, what do you think it means? Or where did you hear that word? Or and then kind of gauging, because if they heard it, no, most 5-year-olds are not prepared to hear about that. But I need to know, in case there was a creepy cousin, a creepy neighbor bringing these terms up. I need to know where they heard that. I need to know where they're being exposed to certain conversations. But generally, I almost never, I have never said that to my kids. Okay, but I've also gauged it. Okay, what do you know? And then ultimately, oh, they're thinking this. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like when I have the parents freaking out over masturbation. They were in the bathtub and they were touching. I'm like, they're not trying to get an orgasm. They're just curious about them. And I have parents who are frequent. I'm like, let your daughter have a mirror and look at herself. She can't see it. She should know what it looks like. It's part of her body, and just normalizing certain conversation. But again, you got to find out what they're hearing about it. But generally, I say no. I don't believe in saying, "I'll wait till you're older." Okay. Any other questions? No. Thank you for the 5 of you who stayed for that last part.